This video will be discussing the research of Bernardi et al. On the brains of professional race car drivers. Evolutionarily speaking, human beings are not born to drive the same way that we are born to walk or to respond to threat in the environment. Driving is not hardwired into our brain, and it is a skill that is acquired over time. Driving, especially high-speed racing, is considered a paraphysical condition, which basically means it's beyond our body. With that being said, the brains of Formula One and other professional race car drivers need to process motion and motor information that is much faster and more demanding than that which is considered normal. As we know, the brain also strives to work as efficiently as possible, so the orientation of experienced race car drivers is not task-based, rather skills-based. The question then is whether there is neurogenesis or redistribution in response to this environmental demand. As we were previously introduced to McGuire et al.'s research while studying MRI, we know that they conducted a comparative study between the brains of London taxi drivers and non-taxi drivers. They aimed to investigate whether navigational expertise would redistribute neuronal matter in the brain. In their research, they had found that through MRI scans, the posterior hippocampus, which is localized in spatial navigation, was larger in the taxi drivers than the non-taxi drivers. Similarly, Bernardi et al. In their 2004 study aimed to investigate whether there was a structural difference in the brains of professional race car drivers when compared to naive drivers. The researchers conducted a quasi-experiment utilizing a between-groups research design to compare the brains of 11 professional race car drivers to 11 naive drivers who had no past experience of practicing a sport at an amateur or at a professional level. While evaluating this research, I want you to think about why these criteria were put in place when putting together or when recruiting participants for the control group. Like in McGuire's research, Bernardi et al. As well used MRI scans on all their participants to check whether there was a difference. They used voxel-based morphometry to analyze whether there was a difference in the density of neuronal matter. Results found that there were several areas that had increased in gray matter in the race car drivers when compared to the control group. These parts included parts of the hippocampus, and one of particular significance was the retrosplenial cortex. The retrosplenial cortex is located right behind the corpus callosum, and it has areas sharing with the hippocampus and also the occipital lobe, which is responsible for visual perception. Within the group of the race car drivers, this particular area increased in gray matter, but it was also correlated with their past successes. Based on this finding and of this correlation, the researchers suggested that the increased neuronal connections in that area primed the racers to be more efficient with motor planning, execution, and spatial navigation, which is required for achieving success in racing. The question here, though, is it because these people had already these anatomical differences that they were better equipped for success in Formula One racing? Or is it because of their training in this sport that area changed over time and became highly specialized in navigational planning, execution, and spatial reasoning? I hope this video was helpful in understanding the research of Bernardi et al.